This is the story of Gideon, a man who learned that the strength of faith is far greater than the might of armies. If you've never heard about Gideon, or if you need a reminder, stay tuned because his story is one of courage, vulnerability, and divine intervention. Let's walk together through this monumental moment in biblical history. In the time of the Judges, Israel was in turmoil. The Israelites lived under the oppression of the Midianites, a nomadic people who invaded their lands, stole their crops, and crushed their spirit. The Israelites had once followed God faithfully, but after falling into idolatry, their disobedience led them to this point. Despair filled the air. Hope felt like a distant memory. Yet God doesn't abandon his people. Even in their lowest moments, he prepares a way. Among the Israelites was a man named Gideon. He was not a warrior by nature, far from it. He wasn't bold, wasn't strong. As Gideon himself put it, he came from the weakest clan of Manasseh and was the least in his family. When we meet this unlikely hero, he is threshing wheat in a wine press. Why? To hide from the Midianites. Fear gripped him just like the rest of Israel. It's in this moment of fear and doubt that Gideon encounters an angel of the Lord. The angel appears and greets him with the words, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Imagine this: Gideon, trembling in a wine press, confused by the greeting. How could he, a man hiding in fear, be seen as a mighty warrior? Gideon questions the angel, saying, "If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us?" He wanted answers. Why would a God who once delivered his people from Egypt allow them to suffer now? But the angel doesn't respond with explanations. Instead, he delivers a call to action. "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" Naturally, Gideon doubts. Doesn't this sound familiar? So many of us want certainty, proof, a reason to believe we can overcome. Gideon asks for signs, not once, but several times throughout his journey. He wants confirmation that God truly intends to use him. First, Gideon prepares an offering, a meal of goat meat, unleavened bread, and broth, and places it on a rock. The angel touches it with his staff, and instantly fire consumes the offering. Gideon knew then that he had seen the Lord's messenger. But even with the divine encounter, Gideon's faith was still developing. Before leading an army, Gideon was tasked with confronting idolatry in his own community. Guided by God, he destroyed the altar of Baal and the Asherah pole standing beside it. However, he did it at night, afraid of the retaliation he might face. The next morning, the townspeople were outraged, demanding Gideon's life. But Gideon's father defended him, stating that if Baal really was a god, he could defend himself. As Gideon began rallying Israelites to fight, his doubt lingered. This is where the well-known story of the fleece comes in. Gideon prayed for a sign, asking God to drench a fleece with dew while keeping the surrounding ground dry. God complies. Even then, Gideon prays again, flipping the request. This time, let the fleece stay dry while the ground around it is wet. And again, God answers Gideon's request. Patience and faithfulness, even in our hesitance. This is the God of Israel. Finally, Gideon assembles an army of 32,000 men to battle the Midianites. But God has different plans. He announces to Gideon, "You have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel might boast against me." Gideon must whittle the army down. First, anyone who is fearful is allowed to leave. 22,000 men walk away. Then God tells Gideon to observe how the remaining men drink water from a stream. Only 300 drink by lapping water with their hands like dogs. This small group will face the vast Midianite army. This is the crux of Gideon's story. God prefers small, unlikely means to demonstrate his greatness. Night comes, and Gideon must act. God tells him to sneak into the Midianite camp to see their vulnerability. As Gideon listens in the shadows, he overhears two Midianite soldiers discussing a dream. One of them says his dream foretells that Gideon's forces will defeat them. With this confirmation, confidence surges in Gideon's heart. Gideon divides his 300 men into 3 groups. Each soldier is armed not with swords, not with shields, but with trumpets, torches hidden inside clay jars. In the dead of night, they surround the Midianite camp. On Gideon's signal, they smash the jars, lift the torches high, blow the trumpets, and shout, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" The Midianite army is thrown into chaos, believing they are under a massive attack. They turn on each other in confusion and flee. Israel is delivered, all without lifting a sword. Gideon's story is a powerful reminder that God's strength shines brightest through our weakness. When we feel unworthy or inadequate, just as Gideon did, God shows us that His power works through ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. So, what can we learn from Gideon? First, faith isn't about the absence of doubt. It's about taking steps in spite of it. Gideon questioned, hesitated, and faltered, yet he still obeyed. Second, God equips those He calls. Gideon didn't start as a mighty warrior. He grew into it through God's guidance. And finally, true victory comes not through human strength, but through reliance on God. The story of Gideon encourages us to look beyond our present fears and insecurities to the God who has called us. It's a challenge to trust Him even when the odds seem impossible, knowing that His power and plans are far greater than our limitations. So, I ask you today, what's your winepress? Where are you hiding in fear, thinking you're not enough? Gideon teaches us that we don't need to rely on our strength alone, because with God, not enough is always more than enough.